Well, happy Thursday night, Vol families, and welcome to session five of the Tennessee Family Series, Health and Wellness. We have got some great panelists here for you tonight, so go ahead, take a moment, get logged in, get your favorite snack, maybe find that sweet spot on the couch where you feel the most comfortable. We're going to get rocking and rolling here in just a couple of minutes so you can hear from these great panelists. Well, good evening, Tennessee families, and welcome to session five of our Tennessee Family Series. It's crazy to think we are already on number five of the summer, where we're going to talk all things health and wellness tonight on our campus. We have some great folks from across our Division of Student Life here with us tonight to talk about all of the different ways and resources and things that your student will have the opportunity to take advantage of on campus as it relates to their health and wellness and how they can remain healthy, how they can remain successful here on campus led by the great folks here on this call. So, for our call tonight, if you've been on with our previous sessions, you're a pro with this already. But if it's your first time, that's okay. We're going to show you how you can ask us questions. So, down, you probably at the bottom of your screen, you're going to see a little Q&A feature. If you don't see it there, you probably have three dots that say more. Click there and you'll find it. But that is where you can submit to us questions through that Q&A feature. And so what you can do is you can type out that question, send it to us. We'll either answer it live here with our panelists, or you will receive an answer directly from one of our panelists or our staff on the call. There's a lot of you and only a few of us, so we're going to get to all the questions that we can tonight. But we do ask, once you submit a question, only submit it once for us. We want to make sure that we get to as many questions as we can and we give everybody the opportunity to ask whatever questions about health and wellness they may have tonight. We also ask that you refrain from that anonymous button just to make sure that we can log who's asking it and your email address. So if it's a question that we may have some follow-up information for you for, we have that email address on file and we can send that back over to you. But if you don't feel quite comfortable having your name out there, it's okay to select that anonymous. We just want to make sure we can get you the best answers possible. So that's the Q&A feature. We'll have it up all night. So that is where we want to hear from you, Vol families. So, panelists, good evening. Happy Thursday on Rocky Top. Very glad to have you all here with us. So, before we jump into questions, let's just start with some introductions. So, if you will tell us what your name is, tell us what your role is on campus, and tell us a little bit about what your department does to support a student's health and wellness on campus. So, Madison, I'm going to throw it to you first.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us. My name is Madison Howard, and I serve as the director of the Center for Care and Resilience. My area is responsible for managing the distressed student protocol for campus. So, if there is ever a concern about a student's well-being, whether that be related to finances, mental health, academics, or just UT is so big and I'm not sure how to find my fit. We have a team of case managers who are able to connect with students, hear their stories, and then based on the experiences that the students share, we'll create a plan of support to get them connected with the most appropriate resources.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Katie Locke. I'm the Executive Director of Rec Sports, and I am where your student will go to have a good time. So this includes going to the T-Rex, the Student Aquatic Center, the Sutherland Field Complex, and all the programs and services in those spaces.
Good evening, everyone. I am Phil Tucker. I am the Associate and Clinical Director at the Student Counseling Center. We are the primary clinical mental health resource on campus for your student, where we provide individual therapy, group therapy, and other mental health resources.
Hello, future vols and families. My name is Yusuf. I am the director of the Center for Health Education and Wellness. And my area is responsible for that health education and wellness programming. So we provide a lot of the resources, education, workshops around the 8 dimensions of wellness that we have here established at the University of Tennessee. We understand that the health and wellness of a student is all encompassing. It is not just in one area. And so that we try to provide a wide variety of education in that.
Awesome. Thank you, folks. We're glad to have you here tonight. I also realized I managed to start this Zoom and never actually say who I was. So, hello, Vol families. Glad to be your moderator for tonight. My name is Todd Cox, and I have the privilege of being a part of the student life team with these wonderful folks as the Director of Student Advocacy and Family Experience. So, now that you've met us all, we know who we are. We're going to jump right into questions. And so, Madison, I'm going to let you lead off again. So, folks may have come on a tour and heard about 974 Help, or they're probably going to start seeing some posters and all about this 974 Helpline. What is 974 Help, and what do you want families to know about that line, how they may be able to utilize that, and encouraging their student to utilize it?
That is an excellent question. So 974 Help is the primary way that individuals are able to make contact with our office to either share referrals or to have a consultation or just kind of chat about a concern for a student. So 974 Help is an actual telephone number. So 974-4357. It is operated 24/7. So it doesn't matter if it's the middle of a Thursday or if the ball just dropped on New Year's, you would be able to make contact with a live person to share concerns that you have for a student. What I love to share about 974 Help is that anyone can call. You don't have to be a student who is currently enrolled to reach out and share a concern. Family members are also able to reach out and share concerns for students. We ask that when you call that you share as much information as you feel comfortable sharing. And then once those referrals have been made, contact is completed with your student within 24 hours of receipt of that referral. Typically, that first outreach attempt occurs within the same business day, within about an hour or so, depending on volume and the severity of the concern.
Awesome. Thanks, Madison. Really a great resource. I appreciate you knowing about how it's 24/7 for that. Will you repeat the phone number again with the area code as well? We have a couple of folks who are asking about that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So it's 865-974-4357. And if you're looking at a dial pad, that 4357 is HELP. We also have an online referral form. I'm a big fan of the Googler. So if you Google UTK 974 Help or go to UTK CCR Center for Care and Resilience, you'll also be able to find our online referral form, which operates similarly to the 974 Help phone line, but you would just submit the referral online, but we still have the same response times within that 24 business hours.
Awesome. Thanks, Madison. I appreciate you naming that. Also would encourage folks real quick, I'll add in, go ahead and type that area code in when you're dialing phone numbers. It's just easier that way. No matter even if you're calling from Knoxville or calling from somewhere else, we recommend go and put the area code in. I feel like that's always the safest bet in this day and age of many area codes. So thank you so much, Madison, for sharing that.
Sure thing.
Yusuf, I want to throw it over to you for some advice for our family members. And so, in your experience, what conversations would you recommend for families to start having with their student about health and wellness as they're getting ready to have move-in here in less than 4 weeks at this point, which is crazy to say. So there's not a whole lot of time left, but what are those conversations to be having?
Yes, absolutely. And I also apologize about the darkness. The sun is right behind me, so it's not really helping with the lighting of things. But it's a great question. Oftentimes students, this is the first time they're away from the house, and trying to figure out things on their behalf, on their own. And so I would encourage families to really think about which conversations that they should have with a student, because it's going to be different for each one. I can tell you that from our data that we have, from assessments that we've done, that several topics do rise to the top, but it is the average is not necessarily true for everyone. So we have, for example, nutrition, sleep, stress, mental health are immediate things that rise to the top of things that are barriers to student success while they're here on campus. And I would say making sure that you talk with your students first and foremost about having a plan for when things aren't going well. So whether it's having a friend to talk to, knowing the numbers that Madison just shared, or knowing the resources that we have in the counseling center or elsewhere on campus. I think also talking to them about some of the basic nutrition aspects of how to prepare a meal or how to have a snack. It's a big campus. They're going to be busy with classes, and sometimes it's really hard to get from point A to point B and try to find time to eat lunch. And instead of just waiting until you get home for dinner, I would say talking to them about healthy snack options. How does that look like? How does budgeting look like? Just the basics of things. I would say don't assume. Start having those conversations. You may find that your students are already familiar with some and you can skip them, and then you may find that you may need to elaborate a little bit more with some of those. A big one that does come up is it's how do I talk to them about alcohol and substance misuse on campus? And there are a couple of resources that we'll share here in a little bit, but our office has designed kind of a conversation guide that you can have with your students regarding alcohol use while on campus, if they choose to do that. Knowing that although the legal age is 21 and above, we can't be ignorant of the fact that sometimes that does exist on just on a regular basis in different settings. I think discussing consent with students and how to have those healthy relationships on campus could be really helpful. And a guide is also available for that, and we'll be able to share the link here in a little bit. So I've said a lot, but basically starting to have the conversation with the student to ask them what they need and making sure you provide them with the basics.
Awesome. Thanks, Yusuf. All great conversations for families to have. I know I always recommend families when we talk to them about this time of year, we say, hey, you're probably about to come on a long drive. You're about to hop on a flight. These are great times to, still be having these conversations right as you're on the way to Rocky Top. So I think you've given some good plane talk and some good car talk there for our families, Yusuf. So I appreciate it. Katie, I want to throw it to you, and we're getting some questions in tonight, but I am backing up to our previous session because we also had a lot of questions about club sports. And so will you talk a little bit about that, about what are some of the offerings we have at the University of Tennessee and how folks who are interested in some of those club sports can get involved with those teams?
Thanks, Todd. Yes, I'll be happy to talk about our club sports. We have about 46 sport clubs that compete across the country. Normal club sport participation usually requires the same cost that you would spend on your student if they're already participating in a club. So those things will be the same. You can find information about our clubs on our Rec Sports website, and wide variety of choices. So we have everything from rugby to bass fishing to fencing to ballroom dance. So if your student is looking for a club sport to participate in, you'll be able to find it with us.
Awesome. Thanks, Katie. I appreciate that. Lots of things, lots of offerings. And so a great way to get involved is through club sports. And so thanks for sharing about that. Phil, I want to throw it over to you. Kind of give us a rundown on the Student Counseling Center. And, if a student is wanting to receive counseling services, what does that look like to be able to visit you all, receive services, and the kinds of care they can receive from you all?
Absolutely. Yes, so students can get connected with us through 974 Help that Madison mentioned earlier. They can just come in person, drop by, and get connected that way, or they can call our office directly. And we offer a wide variety of counseling services, as I mentioned before, from individual therapy, which people tend to be the most familiar with, to group therapy, and then we have a few other resources available as well. And we're equipped to basically support with all of the things that you would typically think about a college student maybe needing support with. That could range from anxiety, depression, to just academic concerns. Maybe they need some support in getting organized and just figuring out how to effectively juggle the demands of being a college student for the first time. We see eating concerns, substance misuse, pretty much the gamut of what you would expect, from your typical outpatient therapist.
Awesome. Thanks, Phil. I appreciate you sharing all of that information about student counseling, and all of the various services, especially now you brought up the groups. I know we have a lot of students who take advantage of those, and those are great ways for students to get connected with their peers as well as receive care. So thanks for sharing about those.
Absolutely. One thing that I would add to that, one of the things I like to tell families, especially if families of freshmen, don't wait until something is really feels out of control to come in to get to know us. We don't bite. You don't have to be in distress to come and receive counseling services. One of the things I like to say is, the time to practice the fire drill is not during the fire. So it's going to be a lot easier for you to come in and get to know us when you're not in distress. By the time you really feel like you need to get in to see us, then you're dealing with whatever it is that you're going through, and then also the added anxiety of trying to meet someone new and work through a new process. So I would encourage you all just stop by and get to know us, before you feel like you need it. It's never too early.
Absolutely. Great advice there, Phil. Especially, I know y'all can be found across campus at some different events and tabling, and there's just different ways to connect with you all. So I appreciate you bringing that up, as is the same really with all of y'all's departments. So definitely would encourage, tell your student to come say hi to y'all. Chris, I want to throw it to you for some questions we're getting about the Student Health Center. So, you also can introduce yourself before you jump into these questions, but having a lot of questions come in just about what is the Student Health Center, what does it offer, what are its hours? So, if you want to give us the breakdown on that, and I'm going to give you a two-parter here, I'm so sorry. The other part too is insurance. Do students need insurance? Is it covered? Like, what are the kind of need to knows about insurance for students utilizing y'all services?
Sure. Again, I want to welcome everyone to UT. Um, so we're a full service health center. We have, multiple clinics where we can do primary care, acute care. We do physicals for, you know, we can do physicals for travel, different aspects. We have psychiatrists that work with the students, and so we provide a lot of services. Our hours are 8 to 5, or sorry, 8 to 4:30, Monday through Friday, except on Wednesdays where we open at 9. Concerning insurance, we, through the, I think it's the Students Program and Service Fee, that helps cover the cost. So there's no cost for an office visit. If you have lab work, an x-ray, something like that, or you need medical supplies like a boot or crutches, we do charge a small fee for that. And the Student Center is very competitive with the price. We do offer through United Health, we have a student health insurance, and I think it's actually a very good program. So if someone needs insurance, it's a good option.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. All good information. Appreciate you. Those hours of operation. I'm going to go ahead and keep it with you really quickly.
Mhm.
Appointments. How, if students want to come see a provider, what do they need to do to be able to make an appointment with you all?
Yes, right now most of the appointments go through through the triage nurses, and they're a great resource. You can call, they can give you online advice and then set up an appointment. Appointments most of the time are same day, or we try to get people in same day. We do not do walk-in appointments. Um, we are in the process of shifting over to adding some online scheduling, so hopefully that'll be in place for all the clinics, uh, during the fall semester.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. I appreciate that because that's another question we always get a lot, to make sure that students know how to get a hold of getting an appointment. So I appreciate you sharing more about that. Madison, I want to throw it back over to you. So, you talked about 974 Help, but also you oversee all of our care coordinators on campus. So, could you talk about who are those folks? What is their role? And what resources, services do they provide to students so our families kind of know about that resource available on campus as well?
Oh, yeah, I am happy to brag on my team. They are a group of incredible individuals. We have 5 care coordinators, and then we have 1 intake care coordinators. And this is a team of folks that will meet one-to-one with your students when concerns are shared. And one of the aspects of our department that I love the most is that we are not time limited. And so our role is to connect with students and walk alongside them as they get connected with resources, and that's at their pace, right? So it's also a free service. We provide support to students that are currently enrolled, students that are exiting the university, students that are returning to the university. And so we have a lot of flexibility in the support that we provide. Each of our team members have some background in either mental health or social work. And so we're able to provide that support with connecting with resources and also assisting with basic mental health skills, self-regulating, coping skills, stress management, things like that. The way that I describe our role, we serve essentially as the mental Rolodex of campus. It is our responsibility to be aware of many of the policies and procedures that exist around campus, as well as having a pretty active brain as it relates to resources. So, as a concern is shared, whether that be related to parenting or finances, or I am really sick and I need to take a break and I'm concerned about taking this break and how that'll affect my scholarships or my status as a Haslam Honors student, or maybe I want to change my major and I'm not sure how this extenuating circumstance is going to affect that. It's our responsibility to be aware of the policies and procedures that would have an effect on those decisions so that we can support students in creating a plan of care and with making informed decisions. So we're sharing, what would happen if you make this decision, or what would happen if you make that decision. And so that's a bit about our role. Our intake care coordinator, her name is Alyssa. She is the voice of CCR. Typically, if you call 974-HELP, and again, that's 865-974-4357. If you call that number, you will likely speak with Alyssa. Alyssa is responsible for managing our intake process. So she is the person that typically receives the calls, processes the referrals. She may reach out to request follow-up information, and then she gets the students scheduled with a member of our team. We also have a care manager, B. Clevenger, who has a social work background, and she has also worked in both advising and in financial aid. And so she has an even a deeper knowledge of some of those systems and is able to help students navigate in that way. Our associate director is Sarah Crowley, and she is responsible for managing the day-to-day of our office. And so typically, if there is a crisis situation or an escalation, she is the first person that is going to make contact with those students that are experiencing that difficulty.
Awesome. Thanks, Madison, for that breakdown. All great folks on your team, a great resource for our students. And so I appreciate you sharing about that in ways that our students can meet with your team and get that support through whatever that might be. So thank you so much for sharing that. Katie, I want to throw it back to you. We have a lot of questions coming in about fitness classes. So can you talk about where they can find that schedule, what all gets offered, if there's a cost, all the nuts and bolts that go into the classes that y'all offer?
Yes, let's talk about our group fitness classes. We anticipate to have close to 100 group fitness classes a week. You can register for those classes through our Rec Sports portal. And our students do not have to pay additional fees for that. That's part of the student programs and service fee that you pay at the beginning of the school year. So we look forward to seeing them come work out with us.
Awesome. Thanks, Katie. A great way. I know tons of students get involved in those, like you said, 100 a week. So couldn't recommend those anymore for our students. Yusuf, I want to throw it back to you. So families and students may start seeing this Vols to Vols program and start wondering kind of what it is, what kind of a resource it is, or maybe their student comes and says, hey, I joined Vols to Vols. What is that program and how can students get involved in that?
Absolutely. So the Vols to Vols are our peer health educators. These are students who are often interested or motivated in health and wellness topics that we then take on and do provide them with specialized training in peer health education or specific topic areas. And then they assist us in going out across campus and teaching the rest of our student population about these health and wellness topics. It's a really special group of students. They have been growing over the past couple of years. They are a really close-knit group that allow kind of a nice blend between a student organization and a student employment opportunity that gives them lots of leadership and helping kind of shape what health and wellness looks on our campus. So it's a really unique program that I've been proud to see our students growing in that, having the confidence to learn, ask for help, provide suggestions about health and wellness topics. So it's been really amazing to see that growth over the years. And to get involved, it's pretty simple. So if you go to our website, wellness.utk.edu, you'll be able to find a link there for our peer health education. And then beginning of each semester, we do a big recruitment campaign. So you'll see our students out there, our staff out there, recruiting for peer health educators. We have an application process and an intake process that goes along with it. But even if a person is not, or a student isn't ready to commit fully, we do have opportunities for the students to just kind of engage at their own pace and find a way to kind of learn more about how health and wellness looks on our campus and then how they can get involved in shaping that moving forward.
Awesome. Thanks, Yusuf. I appreciate you sharing about that. Really a great opportunity for folks to work alongside their peers, but a great leadership opportunity too with those students. And some of our strongest leaders on campus have been part of the Vols to Vols program. So I appreciate you sharing about that. Chris, I want to throw it back to you. So we've had some questions come in about a pharmacy and if students have access to a pharmacy on campus. So can you talk a little bit about the pharmacy that's actually located within the Student Health Center?
Yes. So it's towards the front of the building, we have a pharmacy. They do a great job, in my opinion. They work like any independent pharmacy. They will file medications with your insurance company. They have, and you can actually, I think through our website, there's a form, a transfer form where you can transfer medications. Like if the patient's on a routine medication, they can transfer them from your home pharmacy to the UT pharmacy. They're open Monday through Friday. During the fall semester, the hours will be 8 to 5, except on Wednesday where they open at 8:30. They have over-the-counter supplies like cold medicines, Tylenol, things like that. And they can pretty much do almost any vaccine as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. I appreciate it, especially sharing the over-the-counter stuff. I know I have bebopped my way into there before when I have needed something, and that has been the closest one. So yeah, that is a go-to resource. So thanks for sharing about that. Want to move it now, Phil, back to you for student counseling. So I know you talked about how students can really be involved in the programs that you all do and how they can really get that initial appointment. But will you share a little bit more about what the process looks like if a student may be looking for long-term mental health care and what that looks like with your office and then folks you may partner with and just kind of that process in general?
Absolutely. It really depends on what the immediate needs are. So if, the student comes in and they have something that we can help with within our short-term model, that will set them up for success, with that longer term care, we may work with them for a period of time and then transition them to one of our community partners. We have, relationships with a variety of practices in the area that we often make referrals to for students that need either longer term care or if they just have some sort of interest or need that requires a specialized service of some sort. Um, Initially, everybody who comes into the Student Counseling Center goes through a triage appointment. And that appointment is where we really get to know the student, make sure we understand what their goals are. We do some clinical assessments just to make sure that we're going to make the most clinically appropriate recommendation with regard to their care. So yeah, so there's a few ways that we connect folks to that longer term care if that's a need.
Awesome. Thanks, Phil. I appreciate it. You sharing that. And, I want to double down just on the partnerships y'all have of working with students of them being able to really work with you all to find that long-term care that we want to see our vols be successful and receive care. And so I appreciate you sharing just kind of what that process looks like so our families can help encourage their student to utilize those resources that you all offer. So thank you for that. Katie, I want to throw it over to you in your area with rec sports, and that's about employment. So, something that a lot of families are starting to have conversations about are, hey, so where are you going to work at during your time in college? And I hear the word on the street is rec sports has some, opportunities and is a place people love to work. So, is the word on the street true, Katie?
Todd, I do think that the word on the street is true. Rec Sports hires and currently employs over 400 students. Positions are available on our website. And this is a place where I truly feel like we have something for everyone. Our students can be bike mechanics or lifeguards or intramural officials, or they just work a desk for us in various places, but nobody really gets to sit still at any desk. So if you have a student that likes to move around and do lots of fun stuff and talk to fun people, this is a really great place for them to get connected and make friends. Also, Rec Sports, along with several other places in student life, really focuses on the NACE competencies and making sure that our students have opportunities to practice work that will help translate to a job after college. And so there are very certain metrics that we look at to try and encourage students to be prepared for their next steps.
Awesome. Thanks, Katie. I appreciate you sharing about that. Glad to hear the word on the street is true. But also, like you said, it's a great way to be active, have fun. Really great. The leadership opportunities y'all build in for those students. Couldn't recommend it more for families. If your students talking about working, go over to T-Rex. It's a great opportunity for them. Madison, I want to throw it back to you for some questions, a couple that we've gotten, as well as some questions I feel like we get year round. And folks say, what's different about this non-SEM4 help report than maybe another report like a conduct report or all of these other forms that I see? So can you talk a little bit just about how these forms are a little different? And maybe some scenarios you'd say, hey, family member, this is really the form or the number to call that you can call for a student if you're seeing this.
That is an excellent question. The first thing that I would like to share before I discuss the nuances of the referrals is if you have a concern, call, fill out the form, reach out, and I promise you we will get the situation routed to the right person. So we'll set the foundation there. Just go ahead and give us a call and we'll make sure it's taken care of. The primary difference between a referral to my office and a referral to student conduct or to the Office of Title IX or filling out an all-in-one referral, our office is strictly for care and support of students. We are non-punitive. We are not connected with other limitations as it relates to academic policies and things like that. Our responsibility and role is solely to provide support to your student. Okay, so when information is shared with us, we are a private space, but we are not confidential. Okay, and so that is the difference that we share with our students. So as information is shared, they do so in an informed way. And so if there is a confidential concern, we offer to connect them with a confidential party, such as the Student Counseling Center, so they feel safe as they share that information. But we are just a support resource to connect with students. So that's the primary difference versus connecting with the Office of Student Conduct and Community Standards. That is going to be related to a concern that connects a violation to the Student Code of Conduct. Those referrals are shared there. So if there is any concern about a conduct violation, that goes to student conduct conduct, anything related to Title IX. So that would include sexual assault, domestic violence, intimate partner violence, sexual harassment, anything like that. Oh, and stalking. That is referred to the Office of Title IX. But again, we do serve as a primary support. And so oftentimes if there is a complex issue, so let's say maybe there is a conduct violation and your student has a roommate that has a substance in the dorm. Right? Just throw something out there. They have a substance in the dorm. That would be a violation to the student code of conduct, but there could also be some additional nuances. So your student has had a hard time making friends, and so they're worried about sharing that information and what that would look like to the relationship between the student and the friend. And because of that, they are experiencing stresses with their academics, and so classes have fallen behind, and they're concerned that they may need to withdraw from the semester and what that'll look like with the scholarship, right? So we do have a violation of the code of conduct, but there is a plethora of other issues that are present for that student that's adding to that stress. That would be indicative of a case management need. And so I say case management need, that is essentially a need to help organize and create a plan for multiple issues. And so we're able to methodically work to provide support to that student and help them feel ready for that next step. A big part of our office, we are the Center for Care and Resilience, because we aim to foster a sense of resilience so that as life continues to happen during their college experience, they're better equipped to manage concerns as they present, with the tools to navigate that situation. But of course, having that knowledge that we're always going to be here and that we're always going to be happy to support them in that situation so they aren't navigating it alone. I know that it's going to be difficult once your students go away. And so it's really important to us to serve as that support here on campus as they navigate those concerns, so that they feel a sense of partnership, and don't have to do that in isolation.
Awesome. Thanks, Madison. I appreciate you sharing about those. I think, we've got a lot of resources out there, which is great. And it's also helpful in our families when we can equip them to help their student navigate those. And I also want to reiterate one of the first things out the gate you said was call. I think for all of us that are service providers here on campus, make that phone call. Even if it's not exactly the right place, we'll get it there. But when we know, we can provide the student that support. So just want to reiterate that again.
Yeah, and Todd, I'd also like to share about the care team. I think this is a really good place to share that collaboration. So the care team is an interdisciplinary team of folks from across campus, and CCR serves to chair that team. And so represented with this team is the Student Counseling Center, Student Disability Services, the UT Police, the Student Conduct Office, Academic Success. I know I'm missing maybe four more. The Center for Student Advocacy. Todd is a member of our Merry Band. University Housing. So we all get together once a week to review student concerns. And that's just our weekly meetings, right? In between those meetings, we have lots of collaboration. And so just because a situation starts with the Center for Care and Resilience, it doesn't necessarily end there. If there are other offices that would be helpful to your student and their success, a part of our responsibility is to make sure that they're connected with the right care and right support at the right time.
Awesome. I appreciate you bringing that up, because I think that is something that's very behind the scenes that nobody ever really sees, but that is work that is going on year round, and especially during those Thursday morning meetings when we are all in a room together. So I appreciate you bringing that up. I think that's hopefully helpful for our families to hear about just the different ways we're really trying to ensure we're providing strong support to our students. So thank you, Madison. Phil, I want to throw it over to you because we've had some questions come up really about privacy. And so can you just share a little bit about, okay, if a student visits, the student counseling center, is the family going to find out? What does that look like from a privacy lens of what families should go ahead and expect and what they should be able to tell their student about if they come to visit the student counseling center?
Yeah, absolutely. So we operate as a confidential space. Um, while they are young adults, they are adults. And so we respect their privacy. And so, in order for a parent to be able to receive any information from us, unless it's an emergency situation and we are notifying an emergency contact, they would actually need to have their student sign a release of information for us to be able to have any sort of discussion about their confidential information that they are, addressing in counseling. And so what I would encourage parents to do is have that conversation with their student about, what they are comfortable with, and make sure that if they want them to be involved in their care, that they are proactive in getting those releases of information signed when they come in for care.
Yeah, Madison, I'll throw it to you too as well if you have anything you want to add into as well.
Thanks, Todd. This is a question that comes up quite a bit in our space as well, since we are private and not confidential. And so a lot of parents may ask, can I call 974 help? You absolutely can. Now, beyond that initial point of contact, we are able to still communicate with you, but the information that we can share is quite limited. So one thing that we can share is a confirmation of contact. So we can confirm with you if you have a concern for your student, I can confirm with you that we have made contact with that student. And then if there is any safety concern, if there is an active safety concern, a concern for their well-being, there may be an exception to FERPA policies. And the FERPA is the education protections for your student. There is an exception for health and safety. And so if there is any safety concern, we are able to share information. One thing that we like to do for our parents is to share general information about the campus and policy. So if you have a concern about your student, we may not be able to share anything specifically about your student and their situation, but we can share general information about a similar situation. So if you have concerns about scholarships and transitions away or withdrawal or hospitalizations, we can answer those questions. We just wouldn't be able to share any information about that specific, your specific student. Another thing that occurs is we will reach out to you to ask for more information. So we may reach out to you and ask if you have any updates or are there any additional details that you have to share with us about a situation, but that kind of limit, or that I would say is the limit to what we're able to share.
Awesome. Phil, Madison, to both of you, thank you all so much because I know those are nuanced things and that, can be hard to understand and know kind of what's the difference in private, what's the difference in confidential, how can families who we know want to support their student, what are those barriers that are dictated by law and policy. So I appreciate you sharing kind of what the differences are between both of y'all's and what those look like. And I think too, what I'd recommend for families is if they have questions about the policies and the governing, to call the offices just to say, hey, we have questions about why can't we get this information, to have those conversations so we can explain it like y'all both have here. So thank you both so much for that. Chris, I want to throw it back to you to talk about the Student Health Center. And so is there a cap on appointments that a student can come do, or is there a cap on the services you all provide? What does it kind of look like for that for families who may be wondering?
Yes, that's a good question. There's no cap on number of visits. It's actually pretty common, depending on the health issue. We may have the patient come back. If we see them on a Monday, for example, they may come back on a Wednesday for a follow-up. There's no added charges or anything along those lines. Same thing with a lot of the resources. I'm seeing in some of the questions, say if your student is followed, or your child is followed by a specialist and they need lab work, they can actually sometimes call ahead and we can help with that and forward that to the the specialist. Again, there's no limit on that.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. I appreciate you sharing that, especially talking about kind of the repeat that they may be under more regular care. I think that's good for our families to kind of know with how you all operate, what that looks like. And so I appreciate you talking about that. Katie, I want to throw it back to you because we have some folks who are asking now about these outdoor pursuits and what are they? How can their student get involved? Will you share a little bit more about that program within T-Rex?
Yes, Rec Sports has an outdoor pursuits program that has, I want to say, four different parts. One part is our trips program, where we take students out on a variety of trips during the school year and over the winter and spring break and fall break periods. A next part is we have an outdoor center where students can go and pick out and rent equipment to go out on their own adventure. And those are typically fee-based items that are very inexpensive. The next part is our bike shop. So if your student is bringing a bike to campus, then you should be able to check out a bike. You can do a semester rental that we operate through a lottery system. And then also if you want to check out a bike for the day and check out a greenway or one of the bike areas near campus, you can do that. And then the third part is our climbing wall. The climbing wall is actually in the Hyper building, which is up the road from us. And our students typically participate in that area from 3 to 9 o'clock at night. I
Awesome.
think
Thanks.
just to give a quick outdoor pursuits, we had a trip last year they went surfing in Puerto Rico. So we do fun stuff like that.
Just a casual surfing trip. I mean, casual. No, I appreciate it, Katie, you sharing about those. There are tons and tons of ways to get involved in that. The rock wall, glad you highlighted it. It's awesome. Highly recommend it. So thanks for sharing about that. Yusuf, I want to throw it back to you, and for more advice from you about well-being, specifically around dietary habits. I think now is a really important time for families to be having some of those conversations, especially because we know that's one of the biggest changes that happens is they may be coming from a very kind of strict schedule of when they eat, what kind of foods they eat, to now moving here. And they have multiple Chick-fil-A's on campus, within walking distance from any spot on campus. And as we know, your diet can't be just Chick-fil-A. Studies have shown, the word is out. So, what are some of those conversations that you would recommend families to have about healthy eating, dietary habits, things like that that they may have never had to discuss with their student before?
Yeah, I feel like that was a personal dig. If you had known me as an undergraduate student, Chick-fil-A was my go-to spot. However, yes, you are correct. I think that it's all about that transition the first year of going from a place where you probably had a very regular routine of coming home, there's a meal that's available, until now you've got to make your own choices. The dining plans and the dining halls are very different, and the meals are different. But I think, like Todd said earlier, during that car ride or during that plane ride, starting to having that conversation. I hear some examples, maybe providing some easy recipes that a student can do in the residence halls, or some just like healthy snack options that they could pack and probably get from the local grocery store. Publix is probably a 10-minute walk from the middle of campus, maybe a little bit more, but it's very near. You can get there. There are pod markets that are scattered throughout campus. Dining halls are available throughout campus, and it's not necessarily that there is a good food option or a bad food option. I think it's more about kind of the balance. So finding that balance of between dietary restrictions, food that you want to eat, energy that you want, the time that you have, physical activity levels that you have throughout the day. It's all very important. And I would say making an educated, informed decision is probably the best way to go. And with dining halls, our dining services does a really good job of providing all of the nutritional information on the website. So you can kind of, before you even get to campus, look at their menu, look at the options that they have, look at the nutrition facts that are available, make your selections, so that you know where to get the food that you like and how to get it. The pod markets. But again, I think it starts by having that conversation, maybe kind of teaching some of those basic skills of here's how to prepare a small meal or a snack, or here's how to pack a snack. That way you can have it in your bag ready to go. Don't have a yogurt in your backpack in 100-degree weather, walking across campus and eating it at 5 p.m. Probably not the best idea, but carrots and peanut butter or whatever the case may be could be a much better option for that. So again, looking through our websites, there are lots of great resources from Vol Dining to our program here in the Student Health Center and specifically the Center for Health Education and Wellness. There are some nutritional workshops that we have available. I know that is also being expanded to Rec Sports as well. But lots of great resources. We'd be more than happy to help. If a student is ever in need, have them reach out to one of us. We'd be more than happy to assist. And having those regular check-in calls is also going to be important too.
Awesome. Thanks, Yusuf. All great advice. You highlighted talking about Vol Dining. Would encourage families go back and watch the recording from our first session. We actually had Vol Dining and they talked about some of this. And then in 2 weeks' time, we're actually gonna have our Center for Basic Needs that really works to ensure folks have access to really nutritional and food that helps to sustain them. And so definitely even more opportunities to dive into this topic. But I appreciate you talking about those conversations because those are so important to have. And I think a really great foundation you laid there. So thanks, Yusuf. Chris, I want to throw it back to you again because we're getting a lot of questions about immunizations. So can you talk about what's required? What do they have to submit? Kind of all of those important details, especially for new students coming to campus.
Yes, you can upload immunization records through the health portal, the students portal. We do require varicella, MMR, and then for like anyone in health sciences, the hepatitis B series is required. All of the routine visits like polio, or sorry, all the routine vaccines like polio are required as well.
No.
Excuse me. We also require the meningitis vaccine for students under the age of 22 that are in the dorms. And this is the one that covers the A, C, W, and Y. So that one is required as well for entry into the dorms. I do recommend there's a meningitis B vaccine. Bexsero is one of the brand names. I would recommend that as well. As far as the other vaccines like flu shots, that's not required, but I do think it's a good idea. But those are the required vaccines.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. I appreciate you sharing the vaccine information with us, as well as that they would upload that to their health portal. So definitely make sure families are thinking about that, students are thinking about that, and they're really kind of getting onto that. Well, panelists, our night is beginning to come to a close, and so I want to give the opportunity for everybody to share once again kind of any closing advice they have, or one last thing you want to leave with our students and our families. Additionally, with that, also, if you'll share one more time, how can students get involved with your office or get connected with you all? We'll throw a slide up for you families that has this information as well, but we want you to be able to hear from all of our panelists one more time. So, Madison, we're going to have you lead off one more time for us.
Thanks, Todd. Final thoughts. Call. If you have any concerns, any worries, any questions, if you are just hoping to learn more about navigating UTK, always, always, always reach out. You can make contact with our office by calling 865-974-4357 or by submitting an online referral. Our office is physically located in the Student Health Center on the second floor. So we are right across from the Rock. So you can stop by and see us. We also have a respite space in our office suite where students are able to come and de-stress. We have a really comfy massage chair and a nice couch, and we always have snacks. So I encourage you to make contact with our office and with our team. My office also coordinates the mental health first aid program. And so this is a really great opportunity for students to connect with our office in a different way. Mental health first aid is a curriculum-based course that teaches individuals how to first identify that a mental health or substance use challenge exists, learn about those challenges, and how to connect someone with support when a challenge has been recognized. And so it's a really wonderful course that both our students and staff really appreciate. And it's a great opportunity for students to engage in particular because it helps them to understand the language to use when they're having those difficult conversations, and to be more aware of resources that exist, not just on campus, but also in the Knoxville community.
Hey, everybody. I just want to say to tell your students to come see us. You can find us on Instagram and our website. And then at the beginning of the school year, they can come to RecFest, which is on the first full week of school. They can meet all of our different clubs that we have. So just tell them to come by. There's something for everyone.
Hey, everybody. Yeah, so for student counseling, again, you guys can get connected with us through a 974 help referral. You can call our office directly, or your student can just drop by in person and get to know us. We're able to get students in as soon as the same day if that is needed. But everybody gets our average wait time to get a student in is about 3 days. And that is taking into consideration what they actually need clinically. So again, if they need to get in as soon as the same day, we are able to accommodate that. But on average, 3 day wait time. So that's a really quick turnaround if you know anything about how long it takes to get in to see a typical therapist out in the community. And again, they don't have to be in distress or experiencing any sort of crisis in order to access our services. We're happy to talk through anything that they might need a listening ear for. Anything from questioning their major to just, maybe having some difficulties adjusting to being on such a big campus. We're a university of 40,000 plus. So I don't know about you all, but my first year on campus was a little daunting, coming from the high school of my size. So we're here to support in any way we are needed, and we'd love to meet your student.
Just to close out, so I am lucky to be in the same building as many of my colleagues here in the building, so right across from the Rock. However, your students are more likely to get involved and interact with us across campus. We set up lots of programs, events. A lot of our student groups will request for us to come on campus. And what I'll say is that we are usually the outreach arm of a lot of our different departments. While many of my colleagues are busy doing the hard work of taking care of our students, we are there just to provide the preliminary information and then connect them and say, hey, here's how you take care of yourself. If you feel like you need more assistance or in a moment of need, these are the people that the experts on campus. So I would recommend for your students to engage with these events and engage in these programs to learn more about what we have to offer as an office, but also as an entire campus. And I think you're probably overwhelmed with the amount of information you're getting. And we will try our best to provide more education to your students throughout the year.
I just want to make a few comments. I do want to echo the comments. Don't wait, have the student call if there's concerns. Don't wait too long. We have good triage nurses that can help provide advice, direct them to the appropriate resources, and even tell them how to maybe manage the conditions at home. One of the things I really enjoy about student health is helping the students learn to navigate the healthcare system. And so that's something we take a lot of pride in. And I think we have very good staff to help with that. And so if we can help, we're happy to, and we'll provide whatever information is needed. A little thing I would recommend, because I see this a lot in the clinic, if make sure the students have a up-to-date health or insurance card. We don't bill insurance directly, but when they have that, if they have to go, say if we have to refer them for an outside test or an outside provider, then we have that and we can get that in motion.
Awesome. Well, panelists, thank you all so very much for taking time with us this evening to share about all things health and wellness on campus. I appreciate you all so very much. And to our families, thank you all so much for joining us tonight for session 5. You'll see here on your screen just a few reminders about the survey that we do, the online orientation that is open to you as family members. If you've not done it, we encourage doing it, as well as making sure you join our family association. And so we have one more session left, which is crazy to think, which means moving is just around the corner. We are all busy preparing to welcome your students in just a couple of weeks. But we've got one more session that week before moving. It's about all things student support. So our Dean of Students will be with us, our Center for Basic Needs, our student body president, and others to talk about more ways that your student can feel supported, get plugged in on campus, and really make the most of their volunteer experience. So we hope that we see you again here on Zoom in 2 weeks for the last session of the summer. That's going to be August 6th at 7 p.m. To our Vol families, we are so appreciative of you that you get to be a part of our Vol family, that you've trusted your student with us. We can't wait to see you on campus here very soon. Have a great rest of your Thursday. Have a great weekend. And